Hello, we are live from the Lindau Nobel Laureate meeting. It's the 73rd annual meeting, and this year it's a physics meeting. And I am speaking with one of the 630 young scientists here this week, Brian Gitahi.
Oh wow, it's actually 630, that's a lot.
630 and about 35 or 38 Nobel laureates. Our 630 scientists come from 90 or 91 countries. And I think you are coming from the United States. I think you're a United States delegate?
So I'm from Kenya, but
Yeah.
I currently work in the US. I work in Seattle at the Allen Institute, which is a bioscience organization like I was telling you.
The Paul Allen Institute,
Right.
co-founder of Microsoft.
Right, that
and
one,
what is
that
the
one.
Allen Institute? A bioscience?
So it's a bioscience institute that has 4 institutes. Currently there's a 5th one that's a collaboration between the Chan Zuckerberg Initiative and University of Washington. That's going to be the next big thing. That's the 5th one. And there's a separate entity called the Allen Institute for AI, still founded and funded by Paul Allen's estate. That is separate from our Bioscience Institute. And that's where I've been working for the past 1 year.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So what I did was...
And you're a physicist? What kind of physicist?
Right. So right now I'm doing biophysics, but I actually started in high energy. I did my bachelor's in Princeton. I finished last year. And I wasn't sure if I wanted to do a PhD and what I wanted to do in PhD. So I was like, yeah, you know what, I am going to take 1 year off. Although I'd already gotten into grad school, a good program at Yale, but I wasn't sure that's what was what I wanted. And 5 years is a lot of time to invest in something you don't know. So the Paul Allen Institute was like a great place for me to start because one, it's a job. I was making money. I didn't have anything coming out of college. I left with memories, but no money. So yeah, I thought I would be able to get a feel for what research is like, and that place offered me a platform to do that. There's a lot of freedom, thankfully. My boss has allowed me to do a lot of things in machine learning and neuroscience that I wasn't able to do in a traditional physics program. And I think I'm going to continue with the same in my PhD program, which is a physics program, by the way, but with a research focus in neuroscience, computational neuroscience.
Excellent.
Yeah.
Let me ask you, I want to talk more about what you're doing now, but let me go background. So you're from Kenya. Tell me about your academic path, but let's start with, did you always know you wanted to be a scientist or a physicist?
No, not at all. In fact, I only decided to do physics at the end of my 2nd semester at Princeton. I wanted to do engineering or architecture. So back home in Kenya, like academia is not something that's lucrative or a desired career. Most people either want to become 3 things: a doctor, an engineer, or a lawyer sometimes. And if you're not one of those, people normally ask you, okay, so it means you got bad grades in school or you're just lazy, something like that, something negative about you, something's off. So I remember having to explain to my parents, oh, hey, by the way, I'm not doing engineering like I said, I'm doing physics. And normally outside, people would be like, whoa, so cool.
Yeah.
But back home, you kind of need to tell them, oh, by the way, it's not just you're going to end up as a professor. There's so many different things you can do if you start out with a general degree like physics. And at the time, I was only thinking of doing a bachelor's in physics. So I started and I was like, okay, I'm going to do physics. And that's because even if I want to do engineering, I can do engineering as a master's degree. And if I want to continue with physics, because I did like physics, I can continue with the master's or PhD in physics later on. So it kept the door open. That's kind of my thinking that I had back then.
Excellent.
Yeah.
And tell me about your love of science. What do you like about science, or what do you like about physics or biophysics?
So science allows you to like ask questions, and Sajorosh, Nobel Laureate, mentioned this in one of his talks. There's things you spend time on which are useless. I say useless in quotes because there's no direct utility of the thing you're researching on or reading about. Nowadays, it seems like almost everything that people want to work on or are working on need a direct real-world application. They need to be making money or be of some usefulness outside your lab or outside your university. I like that about science. Science allowed you the space to do that. And then for physics, I think so. I liked philosophy at the time. I am not a philosopher, but I took an ethics class that was like an introduction to philosophy in high school. And I got introduced to things like the Vitruvian Man, ancient art, and I was like, yeah, these things are all topics that interest me. And the thing I liked about them that tied things together was there was always a story. There was something leading up in history to this one. So I like art. There's this one specific piece I'm going to mention, the Vitruvian Man. I love the Vitruvian Man a lot. So this guy, Leonardo da Vinci.
That's the classic illustration that like it's kind of within it's the man with the
yeah.
arms spread and legs.
Right.
Yeah.
And for context, at the time, there was the movement, the Neoplatonist movement. People were wondering, okay, what's man's relation in creation to the rest of the world? And Leonardo was like, I can answer this in a picture. So he was like, yeah, man fits in the middle of a square and a circle. And so this was like an illustration of man's position in the middle of the food chain. Like he's not a beast like an animal, or he's not an angel like the gods. He's just like somewhere in the middle. And then at the same time, he was also solving this, the problem of squaring a circle. So we can't find a square with the exact same area as a circle because of the nature of pi. But he was like, yeah, you know what, there's no solution to that, but I'm going to put a man right in the middle and I'll make him fit in both a square and a circle, which is, I think he was also poking, it's not clear, but he might have been poking fun at people at the time also for that. But ideas like this are what got me interested in science and physics also, because physics it's different from math because there's always a story. There's always something leading up to the math you're doing. And there's like, not a real world impact, but a real world relation. It's not all abstract. I mean, I have crazy respect for mathematicians, but sometimes like you get lost in your own abstract world, which is cool. But I kind of like to see the link with like what we're seeing, like how is it related to me? How is it related to the world we're in? That's
Excellent.
how I ended up in physics. Yeah.
Yeah. There's a lot of activity behind us, and this building next to us is the Inselhalle, which is like home base for the Lindau Nobel Laureate meeting. And there are some sessions going on, there's workshops going on right now and some other stuff. And but some people are out socializing and playing ping pong and just sitting out there talking. And,
Right.
and in fact, a couple young scientists headed to the lake to go for a swim.
Oh, I missed that.
Yeah. I mean,
I might
you
have
could go
done
right
that.
now. We could
After
just
this,
go.
I might do that actually.
And then we have dinner tonight is the Bavarian evening, which is going to be a big party, and a lot of people will be dressed up in clothes that represent their culture. And a lot of the staff is already, you may have noticed, dressed up in Bavarian clothing.
Oh, I haven't seen that.
Oh
yet.
yeah.
haven't seen that
You'll
yet.
see
I haven't seen
shortly.
that yet. Yeah.
But here we are at the meeting, and it's really the final full day of scientific programming. Tomorrow we're going to take a boat trip to Mainau Island, this other beautiful little island. There will be one science panel, one discussion, and the rest of the day is just socializing on the boat there and back, and also a picnic and wandering around the island. So the clock is ticking. The meeting's almost over.
Unfortunately.
Tell me about your experience. Has it been a good week?
It's been a great week. I'm already feeling nostalgic. Yeah, you don't always. This is the one time you're gonna find 40 Nobel laureates in one place, and I don't think, or at least for me, it doesn't really hit you until you're here in front of them and you see, oh shit, like you're with very famous and well-educated people. And you're here not just seeing them talk to you, you're talking with them. You can ask them questions, you can share your ideas. You sit next to them in some of the sessions. It's a crazy experience. I think this is like the peak of many people's careers or best moment. It doesn't happen often that you find people from all over the world talking about one specific thing like physics or science in general. Yeah, it's just an amazing place. And then we have, it's like, it's one island. It's like this island was made for this. Not really made for this, but this is the main activity on the island.
Yeah.
So it's like its own bubble, and after we leave, I think we're going to miss this place a lot. and I think the connections we make here are probably going to last a lifetime, not just in science, but also like outside, like as people.
Yeah, you've made some connections with some of the other young scientists.
Right, yeah.
Yeah.
Young scientists, Nobel laureates, and also the partner organizations, they also put in a lot of effort and work and investment in us. A lot of us are like funded by these organizations. I was funded by the Foundation. And actually, I talked to one of uh, the distinguished science fellows, and that was one of the highlights of this week. Actually, I had a whole 2-hour conversation with him and one of our other young scientists, and we were just talking about life as a scientist and what options there are after you finish a PhD. Like I was telling you earlier, most people assume that the only thing you can do with a PhD is go into academia, become a professor, which sometimes might be not the most interesting thing for some people, looking from outside inside. But you can become a research scientist, you can become a patent lawyer, you can become many things revolving around science, require a PhD that people don't need to teach as a professor to do these things. And there's many opportunities that I learned in that conversation in Bayer and other organizations that have a research and development wing.
Yeah.
These things, I think, they're not very common in Kenya, so I'm still learning about them. Hopefully one day we do have these things spread out across the world. At some point I'd like to go back home to Kenya, so maybe that might be a start. Maybe me and a couple of friends might do that later on in life.
Tell me about a couple of highlights you've had this week.
Yep, so I was telling you the first big one was that conversation I had with the chief scientist at one of the distinguished fellows at Bayer. But also, I got to talk with Brian Josephson, the Nobel laureate who was recognized for his work on Josephson junctions.
Which are coincidentally named after
him.
That's like a lot of the laureates, you know, there's so much different kinds of work here.
Right.
But some of the Nobel laureates here, for the work they did, it's like they have effects and things named after them. And that's a pretty remarkable thing to have your name attached to the thing.
Actually, I don't know too many others who have the name attached to
Right.
it. He might be the only one. I'm not sure. He might be the only one. But yeah, he was a great guy. We had lunch with him. He's a bit old, so we didn't talk all the way through. But he has. So the cool thing about this place is that you learn more about them as people than just scientists. He makes his own music. He records music. So he let us listen to one of his recordings.
Really?
Right? Yeah, he did. That's so you read about these people, you know what they did in science, and then you meet them and you're trying to compare. Okay, so this guy, he did all this, and then you're like, oh wait, this guy is he's a person like me. He has interests outside physics, and in physics also he has his own domain that he works in. And by the way, this guy got a Nobel so early that what he's doing right now is completely unrelated to what he did.
Right. That's true. Something like Stephen Chu has reinvented himself several times and is working on much different stuff. And I'm sure that's true of more of them.
Right, I think so. I think
It's
so
amazing.
as well. I think so.
What about you? You said, do you have what kind of hobbies or outside interests do you have?
So I play and watch a lot of soccer. I've been an Arsenal fan for my whole life. My dad was an Arsenal fan. Yeah, I think maybe I might find a ball and have a kick about with some people here. Actually, a few weeks ago, I went to the Arsenal Stadium to watch a game. So that was the highlight of my life again. It's like a pilgrimage for me.
Nice.
Yeah.
So, not everyone we know has heard of the Lindau Nobel Laureate meeting. So, when you go home and your friends wonder where you were this week, how would you describe this? What is the Lindau Nobel Laureate
Oh
meeting?
man, I don't know what to tell them. This place, Lindau, might be the definition of heaven, or I don't know, maybe not yet heaven, but Lindau meeting is the only meeting in the world where you get laureates from physics, chemistry, medicine, and physiology. 40 of them all in one place with young scientists and other organizations in science, all talking about the same thing, the new ideas, the old ideas, and how we can push the frontiers of science. And it's all happening in such a cool environment. Like, there's a lot of resources that were poured into this, and I think yeah, this is just the right point in time to be trying to push the frontiers of AI, which was AI, quantum, and sustainability, which are the themes of this conference. Um, and yeah, I think for many of us, it's going to be the peak or the main point of our careers. Like I said earlier, we're going to be looking back on this week and being like, that was totally worth it.
Yes.
So the Lindau it's the heaven of physics. Yeah.
That's really nice.
That's
and
what I'm gonna call it.
unfortunately, you can only come here one time unless you win a
Unless
Nobel
you
Prize.
right, unless you win a Nobel Prize where you come. every
And
year if you
surprisingly,
want.
though, that has happened twice. There are two scientists that attended as young scientists that later won Nobel Prizes.
Oh wow, did I just jinx myself?
No, and then I told you I
No.
just interviewed Klaus von Klitzing.
He was one of them.
No,
Oh.
Klaus applied and was denied.
Oh.
He tried to attend and he didn't get in.
wow.
But then he won a Nobel Prize,
Yeah,
and
he was still
he's
pissed
come
at that. He
to
was
so
like-
many meetings now. Yeah.
Oh wow.
So, well, this has been fantastic, and thanks for taking the time, because I know there are so many things. You know what I realized that is exhausting about this meeting is that it's not just the schedule, which is long and intense and so much going on. It's that each thing requires your full attention. Like each conversation is so interesting,
Right,
each lecture, each session. So that's like extra exhausting because you're always giving your full attention and focus. It's also inspiring, but it's
Hey,
quite
there's
an
a caveat. There's a
experience.
caveat to that because some of us sometimes went out a bit late outside and woke up very early for sessions. The last 10 minutes of some sessions, I can't promise that I was completely awake.
And you weren't the only one.
Yeah, well, I wasn't the only one. I know that.
But enjoy the rest of today and tomorrow, and I'm glad you get to have this great experience.
Oh, thank you very much, Brian.
And thanks for talking to me.
Right, and yeah, thanks to people like you, we get to actually appreciate this place and yeah, reflect on the time here. So
Oh, thank you very much.
yeah, you've been here 8 years, so you've seen a lot of us here. Actually, I have a question for you.
Yeah, I've been able to come back even though I didn't win a Nobel Prize.
Right. Maybe that's the trick. Maybe that's you need to share the secret. Maybe
But
you
I
should-
just find a way, like the staff here and stuff. It's like I come and work for them for a week each year. Yeah.
Oh wow.
What were you gonna
That's
ask?
great. Yeah, so I was going to ask you, okay, so maybe it's a bit late for this, but you've seen many students come here. Is there like a piece of advice you'd tell someone like me or other students to make the most of the remaining time tomorrow? Like, if you were a student in my shoes and you know this is the last time you're going to be in Lindau,
Well,
what should I do? Is there a
Don't be
bucket list? Is there
shy.
a bucket
Don't
list?
be
Yeah.
shy. Whether it's about approaching a laureate you want to talk to, because they have all the time in the world for you. Like I heard a young scientist saying, like, I want to talk to a certain laureate, but I don't know. What do I use to start a conversation? You don't need anything.
right.
They want to talk to you. They're not here for the journalists. They're here for the young scientists. So don't shy. If you see a laureate you want to talk to, approach them. They want to talk to you. And then also the other young scientists. I saw you've already forged a lot of friendships here. And yeah, continue to meet people and hang out with them. Tonight and most of tomorrow is very social. So really just enjoy it. We'll be walking around this beautiful flower island tomorrow, and there's a butterfly conservatory that you might check out. But,
wow, cool.
you know, the science sessions are largely gone, but there are so many more hours of conversation to go.
Okay.
So,
I
yeah.
like the sound of that. I feel like I'm already missing this place.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I understand.
thank you for that.
Each time I come back, it's a really good feeling. And you know what? Those sounds we just heard is the beginning of the Bavarian evening.
Oh wow. Oh.
Yeah.
I better go and get dressed up.
Yeah. Are you gonna change?
I'm gonna change, but I'm not wearing a Bavarian outfit. I guess you're gonna see my outfit. I'm not gonna spill the secret.
It will be Kenyan.
Yeah, it'll be African.
African?
I did the best with what I could find in Seattle.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, have a great time, and thanks for talking to me.
I appreciate it, Brian. Thanks for
Brian and Brian signing off.